At this time a year ago, there was a consensus 1 and 2 for the quarterback spot in the 2024 NFL Draft. Everyone thought that Caleb Williams was a generational quarterback prospect and that Drake May was probably not too far behind him. Guys like JJ McCarthy and Quinn Ewers were also up there, and some thought that Bo Nix and Michael Penix Jr. could also play themselves into the first round. Now as we flash forward a year, the 2024 quarterback class is honestly ridiculously complicated. There's a good reason for why multiple players could be the top quarterback drafted, and I don't really know who's going to go where. In today's video though, I want to preview this year's quarterback class. We're going to talk about the top 8 quarterback prospects, what they bring to the table, why they're confusing, where they should go, and I'm going to give my personal ranking. You may or may not disagree with it, but it's my list, and you can give me your thoughts and your list down below. Also, before we get started with the video, be sure to subscribe if you love college football content, leave a like if you want to support today's video, and let me know what topic I should cover next. Also, be sure to go over and follow me on Instagram, as I want to interact with you guys more, and be sure to send me a video suggestion, a topic you want to see next, or just any thought you have about college football. Now, let's get started and talk about the complicated 2024 quarterback class. So the first quarterback we're going to talk about out of 8 is the most polarizing in Joe Milton. Some people think he's the next big thing, while others are so sick and tired of hearing his name and never want to see the guy step foot in the NFL. I remain somewhere in the middle. Joe Milton probably has the best arm in the 2024 class. He is an absolute cannon, and physically, scouts are obsessed with the guy, but unfortunately it just hasn't clicked. After not doing much at Michigan, he transferred into Josh Heupel's system, where he got beat out by Hendon Hooker, and then learned behind him for 2 seasons. This past year in 2023, he finally took over, and he was really mixed. There were obviously moments of brilliance, and moments where he was horrible. His worst 2 games were against Florida and Mizzou, and his best performance came in his final game against Vanderbilt, in which he threw for 400 yards and 4 touchdowns. Surprisingly, he was actually really good on the ground, as he had 7 rushing touchdowns, but would finish the year with 2,800 yards with 20 touchdowns and 5 picks. Tennessee ended up having a solid year, and Milton decided to opt out of the bowl game to let Nico Iamaleava play. Milton had a pedestrian season, showed flash of brilliance, but also showed that things just won't click with him. In my opinion, he's a day 3 guy, and one anonymous AFC scout said, quote, "Milton will wow you up close with his size and arm, but we're still waiting on all of it to click with him. It just hasn't happened consistently enough yet." Personally, he's a guy I think is worth a flyer in the later rounds, and is someone I hope can finally put it all together one day, except it probably won't happen. To me, one of the most interesting quarterback prospects in this year's draft is Cameron Ward. After being a no-name recruit, he ended up dominating at FCS Incarnate Word and transferred up to Washington State. He ended up having a breakout season in 2022, and there were many who thought that he could be a first-round pick if he could figure it all out. That was all hype. Everyone kind of forgot about Cam Ward in 2023, and all he did was have a tremendous season. He was both a threat on the ground and through the air, as he finished with 3,735 yards, with 25 touchdowns, and also 8 rushing scores. While Washington State got off to a 4-0 start, the Cougs went on a 6-game losing streak, and Ward really struggled with turnovers in that time. While he did have moments of brilliance, Ward still leaves a lot to be desired. His 400-yard games against both Oregon State and Oregon looked really good. He dueled it out with Michael Penix in the final game, and never really had a bad performance. While he's a guy who has a great arm and is extremely accurate, many are worried about his ball security and just how well he could translate to the game. In my opinion, he screams 3rd or 4th round, and could be a guy who, if he goes to the proper franchise, could actually make an impact in the NFL. He will definitely need a year to develop though. Michael Penix Jr. is an extremely interesting quarterback prospect. The guy has been playing college football forever and has seen some of the highest highs and lowest lows. He's had 4 season-ending injuries, but he willed Washington all the way to the national championship game and finished 2nd place in the Heisman. There's seemingly no throw on the field that he can't make, and while at times he looks like a future top 5 pick, there are moments when you really wonder if he's even that good. The national championship game he got exposed, and while he was hurt, many just don't think that Penix is going to be durable enough to make it in the NFL. He's been doubted plenty of times, but there is good reason to believe that. This past season in DeBoer's system, Penix threw for 4,900 yards with 36 touchdowns. Stat-wise, he was absolutely insane, and there is no doubt about it that he can make any throw and can play the quarterback position. The 2 big worries on him, though, is that he's not that dynamic of an athlete and his injury history. Somehow he miraculously remained healthy these last 2 years in Washington, but the NFL is a lot tougher, and if he's put on the wrong franchise with a bad offensive line, he's done. In my opinion though, Michael Penix is worthy of a 2nd-round pick, and because of his track record, it would not surprise me if he's starting in the NFL this time next year. We'll just have to wait and see, but Penix's injury history and him not being super dynamic does sort of scare me. Now we, in my opinion, get to the 5 guys who I believe will be 1st-round picks this year. Let's first start out with JJ McCarthy. While some of you guys remember my video talking about how he's the most overrated player in college football, I will openly eat my words right now. JJ McCarthy just led Michigan to the national championship, and he brought home a ring. There's nothing more he could have done. I still think stat-wise he was overrated in the month of November. I mean, he did only have 1 touchdown. Nevertheless, JJ McCarthy is a guy who could easily translate to the NFL. He has pinpoint accuracy, has great leadership, and when he was asked to make big plays, he always delivered. He's one of those players that I do think would need a year to develop, but his intangibles, his potential, and his body of work is enough for me to believe that he is a first-round pick and worthy of a franchise taking a chance on him. He's either going to be one of those guys who's in the league for 15 years, or someone who flames out after 2 years and then becomes a perennial backup. I don't think there's any middle ground for him, but McCarthy checks most of the boxes, and I think is a pretty safe pick. Every year I have a bold take for the quarterback class, and Bo Nix is the guy who I actually think is going to be really good. Before you go to the comment section and say I'm crazy, or talk about how overrated he is, I do think that Bo Nix's translation to the NFL could be nearly perfect. He won't be going in the top 5, he's deadly accurate, has great height, is dynamic, and put up insane stats with a ton of experience. I don't know what else you're looking for in the NFL. As newsflash, there are a lot of random players just like that who have made it in the NFL. While he may not ever be the league MVP, I think Bo Nix has the potential to be a really good starting quarterback in the NFL. This past season, he threw for 4,500 yards with 45 touchdowns, broke the all-time completion percentage in the NCAA, and the only stain on his resume is that he lost to Michael Penix twice. Nix has great height, great athleticism, great stats, great leadership, a ton of experience, and with where he'll fall in the draft, I think he has a chance at going to a franchise in a better spot. Bo Nix is the guy who I'm putting all my stock in, and I think he'll live up to all the hype that he gets. You know those guys that everyone is super obsessed with and thinks is going to be really good, but never actually had that great of a college career and never had that many wow moments? That, in my opinion, is Drake Maye. Maye had a terrific 2 seasons in Chapel Hill, but there was never a moment where I thought to myself, this guy is going to be the future of an NFL franchise. He put up big numbers, he really wasn't that clutch of a quarterback, and in my opinion, he's the guy who I think will be the bust from this year's class. When you search up most draft articles, many think that Maye is the best quarterback. There is just something in my gut telling me that he's going to be a lot like Zach Wilson. This past season, Maye threw for 3,600 yards with 24 touchdowns and 9 interceptions. He had a top 15 QBR and won a good amount of games. What does Maye have? Well, he has great size, has good arm strength, is a great decision maker, and kind of fits that perfect mold for an NFL quarterback. Personally, I think he's a little bit overrated, and while he will likely go in the top 3 and a franchise will pour all their resources into him, I think he's going to be a little bit underwhelming, and I don't ever think he's going to live up to all the hype he has. Again, these are my opinions. You can let me know yours down below. That now leaves us with our last 2 quarterbacks, and the first one I'm going to talk about is Jayden Daniels. There is no denying that Daniels is unbelievable. He just won the Heisman Trophy, can run all over the field, can make any throw, and makes highlight play after highlight play. He led an unbelievably explosive LSU offense and lived up to his 5-star status coming out of high school. After sort of flaming out of Arizona State, he really broke out in 2022 and put it all together in 2023. Daniels' LSU defense didn't really help him out much, but this past season, he threw for 3,800 yards with 40 touchdowns and only had 4 interceptions. He also had the best QBR in all of college football and also had terrific legs, as on the ground, he ran for over 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns as well. He definitely is one of those quarterbacks who has the it factor, but there is one major problem with him, and that is his size. I'm really worried that Daniels is going to get absolutely beat up in the NFL, and then he's just not going to last because he's always going to be hurt. He definitely has the athleticism and arm talent, and there's pretty much no box that he doesn't check, but just my gut factor is that he's going to be the quarterback from this year's class who can never stay healthy. We'll really just have to wait and see, but Daniels should be a top 5 pick. As I said, a year ago this would have been no debate. Caleb Williams was going to be the number 1 quarterback, and many believed he was generational and worth tanking for. I remember the jokes about the Arizona Cardinals tanking for him. Except the problem for Caleb Williams was, when he got hit with adversity, he did not respond well. After winning the Heisman in 2022, Williams threw for 3,633 yards with 30 touchdowns this year. He also was great on the ground, as he had 136 yards and 11 touchdowns, and once again, he had a cannon for an arm, was unbelievable at making something out of nothing, had that it factor, had solid mechanics, made highlight level plays, and was leading his team to victory. Caleb Williams at times looked generational, but again, off the field he had some prima donna issues. There seemed to be a lot of pouting, a lot of crying, he was threatening to quit, and when he hit adversity, His 3-interception performance against Notre Dame led to a downward spiral. He didn't throw for a touchdown the following week against Utah, and then lost 3 of his last 4 games to Oregon, Washington, and UCLA. While obviously Oregon and Washington were elite teams, Williams felt like he took a step back, and with everything going off the field, many were wondering if he's the guy you want leading a franchise. I still think he's worthy of that number 1 overall pick, as his upside on the field is unmatched, and he has the highest ceiling of any quarterback in this year's draft. I do think he's going to live up to the hype, and with the proper coaching and just general maturity, Caleb will be the best quarterback in this year's class, and will be in that upper tier of quarterbacks in the NFL. While his off-the-field issues were a concern, I still think there's a sizable difference between him and any other quarterback. That's just my opinion though. Some other guys who were sort of getting talked about for this year's draft include Michael Pratt from Tulane, Austin Reed from Western Kentucky, Spencer Rattler from South Carolina, and Jordan Travis from Florida State. Maybe a few of those guys will get drafted, but more than likely they're going down the undrafted route, and we'll probably see another guy come out of nowhere during the combine or this spring. But for now, those in my opinion are the top 8 guys, and are what makes this year's quarterback class so fascinating. I want to know your thoughts though. What did I get right and wrong? Who will be the best quarterback, and in what order are they going to go? Be sure to let me know down below. Leave a like if you want to support today's video, follow me on Instagram, and check out all my other videos on the end screen. Hope to see you guys again soon, but until next time, peace.